では、ただいまより、グローバルサウス諸国への日
We
本か
will
ら
now
の
begin the
輸出支援
briefing
を通じ
session
た
on the call for
産業
proposal
協力
for the
プログラム
Industrial
の
Cooperation
交互開
Program
催
in the
説明
Global
会を
South
開始いたし
through
ます。
technology transfer from
本日
Japan.
のアジェンダは
The agenda for
こちら
today
の3
is
点です。
as follows. They are
1点目が
threefold.
プロジェ
The
クトの
first
目的
item is an
およ
overview
び
of the
募集要
project
項の
and
説明。
the
2点目が
explanation
公
of
募
call
システ
for
ムの説明。
proposal.
3点
The
目が
second
質疑
item
応
is an
答です。
explanation for procurement
本
system,
日
and
ご
the
参加
third
に
is
なる際
Q&A session.
応
We
募者もい
understand
らっ
that
しゃると思い
some
ます。
bidders may not be able
こ
to
うした
attend
社間の
today's
答弁を
meeting.
していただ
In
き、
order to ensure
本説
fairness
明
among
会の全
bidders,
体を
the
録画し、
entire session will be
答弁資
recorded
料とと
and
もに
uploaded
近
to
日
the
中に
UNIDO
UNIDO
ITPO
東京事務
Tokyo
所のウェブサイ
website
トに
in
て
the near
公開いたしま
future.
す。説明中で
If you
も
have
結構
any
ですので、
questions during
ご
the
質問がございま
explanation,
したら、
please
ウェビナーの
use the
Q&A 機能を使っ
Q&A
てご入
function
力く
of
だ
the
さい。
webinar to enter your
言語は日
questions.
本語か英語でお願いいた
Please
しま
use
す。
either Japanese or
ご質問
English.
には必ず
Please
会社
make
名
sure
と
to
お名
include
前
your
をお
company
記載く
name
ださい。
and your name when asking a
回答する
question.
際には、
When we
質問者の会社
respond
名、お
to
名
your
前は読み
question,
上げ
we
ませ
will
んが、
not read out
匿
your
名での
company
ご
name
質
or
問
your
はお
name,
答えいたしかねま
but
す。
we will not respond to
多くの
anonymous
方からの
questions.
ご質問を受
Some
け
of
てい
the
たします。
questions may have been
ユニ
answers
ドの有
clearly
料機器
stated
や外国政府の
in
方々
the
からのご質
CFP
問が
document.
お
We
答え
will
できない話でご
prioritize
ざいますこ
questions
と
from
をご理解
companies.
ください。
Please understand that we may not be able to
本説
respond
明
to
会終
questions
了
from
後は
UNIDO
ご質
field
問に関するご
offices
説明いたしま
or
す。
foreign governments. Few words
ユニド
about the
の公募入
questions you
札
may
手続
have
きはす
after
べ
this
てウィ
briefing
ーン新聞
session.
の公募オンライ
Once
ン
the
システムに
UNIDO
ある
call for
このプ
proposal
ロキュアメント上で
process
行いま
begins,
す。
all bidding procedures will be
ご質
carried
問に関
out
しま
on
しても、
e-procurement,
Win プ
the
ロキュアメン
online
ト上で
procurement
受け付
system
けて
at
お
the
ります。
Vienna
こ
headquarters.
の E プ
We
ロ
will
キュアメントに
accept
つ
your
いても
questions
なお
on
説明をいた
e-procurement.
しま
There
す。
will be also a briefing on how to
本説明
use
会の間に
e-procurement today.
Q&A 機能を使
Due
って
to
いただ
time
いたご質
constraints,
問の
we
中
may
に
not be able to
時間
answer
の
all
関
the
係でお
questions
答え
we
できないもの
receive
が
at
ある
this
と思います。
briefing.
その場合には
In
ご
that
終了でござい
case,
ますが、
we apologize
改め
for the
て Win プロ
inconvenience,
キュアメントからご質問い
but
たしますよう
ask
お願い
you
申し上げま
to
す。
raise your question again via e-procurement.
それでは、プロジェクトの目的及び募集要項につきまして、
So, the
UNIDO
objective
国連
of the
工業開発
project
機関
and
東
the
京
call
投
for
資技術移
proposal
転促進
would
部社
be
長
presented
足立
by
文雄よりご説明
Ms.
申し上げ
Fumio
ます。
Adachi, the head of Investment and Technology Promotion Office, Tokyo UNIDO. Thank you to you all. I am Adachi. I'm the head of the Tokyo office. I have 40 minutes during which I have to cover 40 slides. I shall try to be very effective and succinct. I would like to first talk about the aim of the UNIDO Global South Project, and also would like to share with you the documents and its organization for the second call for proposals documents, and we will talk about the possibility of the information on the third CFP and also the details of terms of reference. That will be the most important. And also, lastly, we'll talk about the evaluation process within the UNIDO. First, the objective of the Global South project. Some of you may have participated in the first proposal, call for proposal, and some of you who have already been associated working together with UNIDO, it may be just a repetition, déjà vu. But the MITI is a donor for the project, and JETRO have also called for proposals for the similar projects. But I would like to remind you that this project is different. UNIDO is a UN specializing agency to promote, as is shown in the name, to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development of the member countries. It must be inclusive and sustainable industrial development. That is most important, which means that being sustainable in our call for proposal for the Global South project, we would not be just supporting the demonstration, but also post the demonstration, we are trying to promote and expect that this will lead to eventual commercialization, the business stage. And also, the Japanese corporates, I think, are focusing mostly on Asia as they go abroad. But as a UN agency organization, we would like to have you very much involved in other regions. And also participate in areas other than inclusive, not only the big and light industries, not only limited to the IT, but I think that there will be a diversity of areas that you would be participating. Now, let me talk about this current proposal, call, shall I say. The first call was made last year during June-July period. We spent 1 month, 30 days for this call, the first call. This time, we are allowing 10 weeks for the second call. And this will be the first explanation by us on the second call. I hope this will be informative and helpful, effective, so that we will enjoy many good proposals from many of you. The March 27 is the closing. It happens, coincides with the end of the business year in Japan. We did not decide it, but the donor would like to close this by the end of this business year. So right now, we do not intend to have the third call for proposal. Now let's go into the substance. Talk about call for proposals. What are the documents needed? Now, all materials information are downloaded from e-procurement. It is headed Call for Proposals, and there are appendices. And Call for Proposal is the main document, and there are appendices. In the Call for Proposals, they explain the procedures. In the appendices, it explains what to submit and how to enter into those forms. And whilst it is not here, you may be still wondering what is needed and what has to be submitted. But of course, what selection process goes through UNIDO after your submission, and what should be in compliant? What should you be in compliant? I'm sure that would also be interested. So this would focus on what to submit, but what must be done once the selection is being made. And I hope that you will go through all documents to be able to have the good understanding. Appendices 0 is the term of reference amongst multiple appendices. Terms of reference is the most important. It explains what to submit and how to describe or fill in those documents. Appendix 1 was not in the first call, but we also have added a checklist of documents to be submitted. And that appendix itself is also being provided. Appendix 2 is the application form. In the first call for proposal, we had the application form, and it is very detailed. Appendix 0, terms of reference, is copied and pasted here, so that without referring to the terms of reference, if you look at the application form, you should be able to properly enter into the application form. But other than the documents to be submitted, terms of reference provides what must be respected and be in compliance with. So I would still encourage you to read very carefully the terms of reference as well. And also appendices thereafter talks about qualification documents to be qualified for. And of course, Appendix 2 would also talk about the application form for technical proposal and financial proposal for selection grants. Now, Appendix 3 through 14 are the qualification documents. Without the qualification documents, one missing document will not allow us to go through the screening process. Appendix 15 has the UNIDO bank information form. Once the selection is made to remit the grant, we will need to have the bank account. So UNIDO bank information form is included, and everything must be in place to submit in terms of submission of the documents. Now, going to the details of terms of reference, TOR, is quite detailed, but we would like to just focus on what needs to be submitted. Technical proposal, financial proposal must be submitted together with qualification documents. Now, in the interest of time, the third point may be skipped. The application form is very detailed, and we will have to require you, and it is designed so that you can read the application form and be able to fill in those detailed information. And there are, of course, things that we will not have time to explain it. But if you could read through the documents, they are all explanatory. Not talking on that point today does not mean that it is unnecessary or not important. So I hope that you will go through all the documents and all the requirements. Now, let me begin with the technical proposal. Technical proposal, what needs to be submitted? It's 1 through 4. 1 circle through 4 circled. First, demonstration is subject to grant proposal together with capacity building activities. So those two will be subject to grants. And the implementation period is maximum of 3 years, and it has to be completed by March 2028 per the request of the donor, so we cannot change those time schedule. So I hope that you would be in compliance and be fully respectable. And once that's not here, and it says maximum of 3 years, it's already at the end of January. So we only have 3 years and 2 months until this period. And the selection process will require several months, not few months. Therefore, the demonstration period may be less than 3 years in reality. But again, please note that demonstration should be completed by the end of March 2028 so that we can receive the reports from you. And the grant payment should also be completed by this date. So the demonstration period, I must remind you, could be fairly short. And I think this should be borne in mind as you put together the plan. Now, about feasibility and commercialization, UNIDO it will not just be supporting the demonstration, but in global South countries, we would like to actually make sure that there are deliverers that can generate benefits and profits. And we like to ensure that it goes to that post-demonstration period. So we do not intend. So please, again, when you make the proposal, please be reminded that your involvement will not end at the end of demonstration, but how to commercialize the demonstration experience should be very important. And this also should be documented to state how you intend to achieve the post-demonstration period purposes, the commercialization. And also, and I'm sure when you do business and try to enter into foreign countries, including Global South, you conduct feasibility studies. And after feasibility, if a demonstration is not necessary, you could go directly to the commercialization. But we would be bridging the feasibility and commercialization, and that is the demonstration.
Well, one is that the donor is METI, the Japanese government, and METI is going to input taxpayers' money of Japanese taxpayers, so they need to be held accountable for Japanese taxpayers. And we cannot use the taxpayers' money to promoting the commercial project on your part. You have to demonstrate first. And after that demonstration, maybe the result is that this market isn't good for that demonstration. That can be a business judgment. Because of this risk, taxpayer monies can be used as contribution here. But for us, let's say if there is a possibility of high probability of withdrawal or exit before commercialization, we cannot put money into that. But there are elements that you have to approve during demonstration. Another point, feasibility study. After the feasibility study, you may be able to go directly to commercialization. If that's the case, I would like to ask these companies. We at the United Nations, UNIDO, consisting of 174 members, this is a large-scale Global South project. All member states are paying a much closer attention to this. Japanese companies going into the Global South countries, and there's a grant to subsidize. This is the assistance for investment, and the member countries should not criticize this as the subsidy. For business development in the developing countries, we need to prove that it is not the case to the developing countries. So you go to the Global South countries, and there is a good ground for going there to do the demonstration. You have to prove that. Now, the proposal, going into the content of the proposal, what are the technical requirements? But before that, well, what does demonstration mean this time? In the first CFP, this hasn't changed. In this project, demonstration means that the technology that have been already developed, the technology development has been complete, and in the Global South, this should be applied. That's the level of technology that we want. Well, the technological development can be completed in Japan, and after that completion in Japan, already in Vietnam, there's a commercialization project. But if you want to go to Uzbekistan, then there's a different business model required from Vietnam. So the feasibility study for Uzbekistan is needed. That's fine. And the target of demonstrations of technologies or business model. Well, it can be the verification of technologies, a verification of business models, or verification of both. My personal view is not UNIDO's official view. Well, the single verification of technology or single verification of business model may not be enough. Technology is perfect, so the business model can follow. That can be possible, but you go into commercialization in a country, so the business model's verification has to be there. Next, feasibility study, demonstration, and capacity building plan and business plan. That's the order. Now about the feasibility study. Feasibility study, well, proposal has to be submitted by the end of March, but before that, feasibility study must be completed before that, or by that time. A feasibility or a series of feasibility studies, it is written here, one large feasibility study is possible, or a series of feasibility studies is also possible. So next, we want to go to Morocco. Our company's products have to be accepted by the market. It seems that there is a potential market. So the market's feasibility study is over. So how can we modify the technologies to the market? That's a technological feasibility study. And are there enough staff on our or local partners? Is there local partners in order to go into Morocco? But how can we finance? The series of feasibility studies like these must have been completed. Can be one single large feasibility study or a series of feasibility studies. Either can be done. And this feasibility study targeting CFP, this CFP, or but this CFP for Global South started last June. Maybe you may have started feasibility study before that. So if it is a feasibility study targeting this CFP or not targeting this CFP, both are allowed. Well, we have 2 months before the end of March, and during this 2 months period, you can summarize the good feasibility study. That's another possibility. Now, why do we need feasibility study? Well, for commercialization, that's for you, for your benefit. But for UNIDO, This is the demonstration that you will do. Why do we need demonstration? There are elements to be demonstrated. Can we prove or not? And feasibility study will show that that's the case. So the feasibility study report has to be submitted. And then this report, be it written in Japanese or English or Arabic, that's fine. Why? Because the abstract of the feasibility study should be written in the application form, and in this application form, why, what kind of demonstration has to be done, what kind of elements are needed, these have to be written in the application form. Now, feasibility study A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the market studies, results, or the technological studies research, and the essence of these feasibility studies have to be written in the application form. And after that, if feasibility study says this, applicants, the companies themselves, how do you interpret the results of the feasibility study? You have to write it that too. For you, when you look at the result of the feasibility study, you may decide that the demonstration has to be done in this particular market. So you are making proposal. That means that you thought that this is feasible. Now, the verification, what kind of issues to be verified further, you have to write that too. And those, what to be verified, has to be clearly shown that a particular feasibility study is showing these things, and the applicant has to make a judgment on that. And I said that for the next 2 months, you can summarize the feasibility study, and applicants, the same person summarize the application form, then the content must end up being the same. The demonstration plan. What kind of a demonstration plan? TOR 7.2 shows that an application form 1.2, 1.3 shows the summary of technology to be demonstrated, or business model to be demonstrated. And UNIDO's judges, though there's a jury on the part of UNIDO consisting of various people, it is not always the case that everyone is experts of everything. There are certain people with the different expertise. So you need to be able to show the schematic diagram to make everyone understand. As you can see on the box within the diagram, that should show necessary elements, what players are there, and technology and know-hows, how do they flow from whom to whom, and what is the flow of money. These diagram should include all these points. And technologies to be verified, the summary of the technology to be demonstrated, and summary of business models to be demonstrated. 2 diagrams needed. Technologies and business model diagrams. If you find it difficult to separate these two, then you can combine these two into one diagram. If it is easy to understand, that's fine.
And unlike the first proposal, we are trying to navigate you to the details of purpose, functionality, and features, and value proposition. And there's a list of very difficult words. But what we request you that in every line of the application form, there will be a guidance that you could rely on. Now, let me just first explain the attributiveness. Is where does the technology belong to? first, our intention is to have the Japanese technology being demonstrated. So it's a Japan-made technology. Belongs to either a Japanese organization or an individual, be it in the form of patent, academic article, or the history, the production history, or the know-how that has been accumulated in the organization, whatever should be entered in to prove that it belongs to the Japanese individual organization. I'm mindful of the remaining time. Global South countries. During the first call for proposal, you said you could choose any country, but this time we would like you to select one country in principle. Should you want to have multiple countries for demonstration, please clearly state why that is necessary. India has 30 provinces, so it could just one in country, and Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, 2 countries. Maybe you would like to procure goods in one country and apply the technology in a different country. So it doesn't mean that if you write down very many countries, that will attract the attention of the judges. But please make sure clearly that you select a country that you really want to conduct the demonstration. Capacity building. You could say that it could not be just limited to the host country. You could say that after India, you would invite the Pakistani to also support their capacity building. So capacity building cover a number of countries. There is no particular line for write down that, but if you believe that it is essential that you write down why and how that will be conducted, and if you have any concerns or questions, we will ask you. You could choose 1 and 2. If you choose 3 and 4 for internal reasons, if you selected too many countries, that will confuse us. So please, at the maximum of 2, choose 2 countries with distinctive features. Now let me go to social issues. The host country where demonstration is being made. What are the social issues of that potential social host country? After the demonstration, they will have to go into the commercialization process. And what is the objective of that commercialization? What do you intend to do to solve what social issues of that host country? You want to contribute in solving certain social issues, and please note what social issues that you would like to address. The sources of information, the employment of women to being too poor should be a social issue. So please refer to the sources of information that are reliable and credible. And this is not the official view of UNIDO, but my personal view is that how to contribute to a certain social issue, what you want to contribute. It's not something that you think about it right now because you want to be an applicant. But of course, you must have been having such thoughts, making entries through such customers. What are the things that you would contribute through customers? What sort of happiness would you like to bring to that host country and businesses? I'm sure that's what you do in your day-to-day business. So please share that thought that you always have had and will have with us. This next is conformity with the industrial development policy of that host country. The state of industry of that host country, you should analyze it, and please note how the demonstration will contribute to improving the status of industry, how it can contribute to the industrial development. Low industrial development could be one social issue, but I says you should have issues other than low industry development for the social issues, because for the industrial development, in that column, we'd like to talk about what industrial development policy that you would like to contribute to. For the industrial development policy, it is essential that you are matching or in conformity with the industrial development of that host country. And please, you should describe how the demonstration will contribute to that particular industrial development policy of that host country. This is very busy, quite difficult. It says overall objective, the outcome, what outcome should come out of demonstration, output, the concrete deliverables. It's very time consuming. You'll have to take time to really fill in this particular column. Please read the guidance or the reference very carefully and fill in. So let's go through this together. This is essential because by having this clearly stated, we will know the grounds for calculating the personal cost, and the judges will be able to clearly understand what your objective, the outcome would be. So by numerical indicator, being able to judge through numerical indicator, it will allow the judges to make a better judgment. So please take time, as much time as you need to go through this process. I will go into the overall objective later, but let me start with 1, 2, and 3. First, narrative. What is your objective? So under the narrative, please write down in forms of sentences what you intend to achieve, what is your objective. And at the left end, it says complete sentences. It's not words. You have to have a complete sentence describing the overall objective. It says write a sentence. A is in red, so it's important that it's one sentence, not many sentences. And also, you have to have a numerical objective. And you have to set the numerical indicator to explain the state. What is the baseline should also be described there. And after the demonstration, and that indicator would change how and to what level. That should be stated. And for 3, you will have to talk about how those numbers would change. You have to verify that. So again, where the data is available, which supports that numerical indicator, that must be explained here. So the data should be credible and is accessible at all times, and it is not costly to have an access. That data is being preferred. So set up the means of verification per quantitative numbers. Now, let me talk about overall objective, the outcome, output, and activities. First, the overall objective is rather difficult, so let me start with outcome in the 2 or 3 years of demonstration, and how would it be at the end of demonstration after certain years. So what should be achieved after the completion of the demonstration by the end of the demonstration period? And to achieve that state, you have to write down a number of objective ends to achieve the outcome. And to achieve those major outputs, you have to write down the inputs that will be necessary. The overall objective. Now, of course, 1, 2, 3 are for your demonstration of your own self, but 4 is after demonstration. Your company, what are the benefits or profits that you could enjoy in that host country, and thereby what effects, positive effects and impacts that you could deliver or bring to the host country beyond just your own benefits. So commercialization and business development, what should it bring to the host country? I'm sure that you have that been thinking about, and that should be stated. This outcome and output would be what the state that the host country would enjoy after 2 or 3 years. So what numbers should be improved? Having so many warehouses, automation. These are just examples. So those output would be stated, and the concrete means to achieve that today. Now, outcome. Now, in good project, you will be able to find 2 or 3. But for you, for your ease of work, and for us administration, please choose one which is most appropriate.
Well, there are 3 to 5 outputs as well, and activities. For each output, there should be accompanying activity. You can have the breakdown. I'd say major activities would be 5 to 10. Output and outcome means the status 3 or 5 years hence, but overall objective after the demonstration, it's not right after the demonstration is over in 2 or 3 years' time. You can talk about what happens 5 years hence, 7 years hence, 10 years hence. Is it target? Target sets specify the target year. So how many years you envisage to reach the target, you can write it down. Output and activities. What's written here is formidable enough, but the time schedule, you have to fill in the time schedule on the left, that's output, and then activities, that's from the previous page. You can copy and paste from the previous page. And then activities where you can shade the boxes like this. In the application form in 2025, the 3rd quarter, we have already entered 3rd quarter. The project demonstration will not be able to start by the end of the 3rd quarter, so you can skip the Q3 here. What's more important, besides filling and the Gantt chart above, it says in the lower box, Excel sheet can be downloaded, and the details, that is to say, how to man the project. As you can see on the left, one output, outcome, output activities can be copied and pasted from the previous page. Responsible person, who are responsible, you have to write in, and the roles of the responsible person, that's number 3. If you are going to hire from now on, you don't know the names, then IT engineer A or B or C would suffice. Number 4, and in 2026 in January, this person will work for how many days, and April, how many days. You have to write down the number of days of work of a particular person. And in 2025, such and such days, 2026, certain days, there will be automatic calculation of the total 1 through 4. You can fill in 1 through 4, and the automatic calculation will follow. On a best effort basis, you can fill in this time schedule until the award. It will take several months, and the situation may change by that time. The selected project, selected demonstration, we will conclude grant agreement. But before that, maybe you have to submit this time schedule reworked, or the latest version of the time schedule. I know that the time is running out. Give me 5 more minutes. Implementers. Person who will implement. You may feel that everyone's name has to be there. No. For this particular project, implementer means you, applicants. And if you are forming consortium the member companies of the consortium. Those are the implementers. If you are not forming consortium, the implementer is only one, you, applicant. And the first CFP didn't say this. Consortium contract, whatever the name it is, a certain written documents would show demonstration or capacity building plan. And if there's a contract in a written form, that's equivalent to consortium agreement. And all these are called implementers. And if you don't have any of those, you as an applicant is the sole implementer. And I talked about the technical proposal, but let's go to financial proposal. Applicant may transfer to the other members, companies of the implementers. That means among the implementers, if there are other members, applicants may transfer the grants to them. Why? As you can see on number 4 on this particular page, let's say in the case that the applicant procures and outsources any item from entities other than the member companies of the consortium exceeding 40,000 euro, you have to have the competitive quotes. If it is within the implementers, that's considered to be equivalent to applicants. So even if it exceeds 40,000 euro, if it is within the implementers, we don't require you to submit competitive quotes. But maybe you may start trying to work hard to have the consortium agreement after the proposal is submitted by the end of March. A new consortium agreement or other type of partnership agreement after the deadline cannot be accepted by us. By the end of March, the group formation by the end of March, that's only acceptable. Anything beyond that cannot be accepted. I know time is running out. Stakeholders. Well, the related ministry of the host countries, please make sure to build relationship with them in a particular sector, and regulatory authorities for environmental regulations, for example, if it is financial spec, then if you are trying to bring in new business in terms of finance, if there are laws, if there isn't any laws, existent laws in that host country, you need to start discussing with the finance ministry of that host country. This is not related to you, but CFP. Well, this is a huge project for UNIDO, and UNIDO, before you start the demonstration, UNIDO makes the letter of exchange with the host country's government to make sure of the intent of the host country's government. We are going to do a large-scale project like this, and the host country has to acknowledge this. Otherwise, you cannot start the project. So that we can have the acknowledgement from the host country at an early stage, please make sure you build the relationship with the related regulatory authorities. Capacity building, there are 2 types of plan. As you can see, number 1, you can read this. 2, those working for studying plans to foster people working for studying related technological business sectors. Well, if the plan that targets people who are not working directly for the implementation and the commercialization, but within the wider supply chain of the demonstrated technology fields or related fields, well, you can think about the capacity building for them. Business plan. We will not formulate the business plan for you, but after demonstration is over, we want you to proceed to the commercialization, so you have to write down the business plan 3 years hence, 2 years hence, or 3 years hence. So the business plans will not be far off the mark from the present situation, but the demonstration's result may not be good enough. That may change the demonstration. So this business plan should be on a best effort basis at this point in time. This is how UNIDO evaluates. This is all written in TOR, and a weight is given this. FS 10, and then the technology business model and implementation 45. It seems that there's a concentration in South Asia, and then within the 5, that weight, the importance will be less. So we want you to look at other areas like Asia and Africa. And then gender-related issues, there are 3 places you have to fill in on the gender-related clauses. Please read the document. I'm not going to this today, but by the evening, evening or tomorrow, we will have a notification. There will be a gender-related seminar and gender initiative that UNIDO targets. We will explain that there in the webinar to make it easier for you to write down the gender-related descriptions. Financial proposal, I'm sorry, we are running over time, and your Q&A session may be shorter. I'm sorry. It is not the first CFP, but SMEs percentage. JETRO or METI implements CFP on their own, but just like that, if it is SME, but these are the conditions that SMEs are not treated as SMEs, but rather as a large companies. But METI or JETRO, well, this is exactly the same of the CFP of JETRO or METI.
And you have to have the details, description and explanation. We will be providing 100 million, millions of yen of that. So it has to be very detailed and clear and accurate. We will have to have the cost breakdown, and we look at your cost breakdown, and we would apply the serial numbers. And of course, it has to be managed clearly on your ledger, on your book. We would identify the items, because as is shown in TOR 11.1, during the demonstration period and follow-up period, the assets that were acquired using the grants must obtain the approval if it is to be sold and disposed of. And of course, if other benefits are enjoyed from that, it has to be returned to UNIDO in advance. By managing it on the book using the serial numbers, those that are given these serial numbers requires approval in advance for any disposition of. And other than that, hardware or intellectual property or data using the UNIDO grants, or if during the demonstration period, anything created during the demonstration, the products or services, could that be sold? Now, in principle, if the sales is for demonstration purpose, for the purpose of demonstrating how it will sell, it will be allowed. That will not be a problem. And you may enjoy the profit. The project may enjoy the profit. But there's a diversity of scenarios or cases. Therefore, if UNIDO grant is used during the demonstration project, and if something is developed, then I would suggest that you refer to us each case to us before you take any concrete actions. So please refer to them on each transaction or each case to UNIDO. During the follow-up plan, again, we would like you to contact us and explain whatever you intend to do. And when we are being solicited, 11.2 is shown what the criteria would be during the implementation period and or the follow-up period if you need to consider certain expenditures by grant beneficiary. were not used in a manner consistent with the objectives of this project or contrary to the objective, then UNIDO will say no. And once the sales has been made despite our view, then the money will have to be returned. Conversely, the project must be implemented pursuant to the objective, and then as far that is respected, then we will go through the screening or decision process to grant approval at the end. But you must seek approval in advance. Now, payment in installments is also allowed. But it's not that we would allow the payment installments automatically. Once a certain thing is achieved, and we may pay that. But for instance, if you say that we'll have to pay the personnel the monthly wages, that you will have to give us the monthly installment, that will not be possible. So for the payment installments, you will have to clearly state why the installment of payment would be necessary, so that we understand exactly the reason for that. The qualification criteria and what documents should be prepared and submitted. Please read this. The appendix 456 says, if applicable. So it is needed if applicable. Whether it's applicable or not, you should look at TOR 9.1 to see whether if it's applicable or not applicable. And of course, you could always contact us and inquire us. This is the last slide, how we are making the evaluation. First, you have to submit the qualification document, and it's all listed here. If anything is missing, then we would de-qualify. We will not qualify you. We will not be able to go to the next step. So once the qualification criteria are fulfilled, then we could go to the next stage, and the scores of more than 60 will be able to go through the financial proposal, judgment or assessment, and only and high scores will be selected from the upper. So the selection process for the first proposal, the assessment took several months. UNIDO way is that we should be fair to all proposals and must be treated fairly. So we will not be able to give you the results or inform you before we complete the entire assessment. So you'll have to wait until the very end before we complete the whole task. Therefore, please make sure that you are out of the race, even in the first stage in the qualification criteria. So make sure that you have a full qualification document in place so that we could go to the further steps.